People think the danger of speaking is saying the wrong thing. It isn't. The real danger begins after the sentence leaves your mouth, because the moment your words are heard, they stop belonging to you, not legally, structurally. They enter other minds, other assumptions, other versions of reality. And once that happens, meaning is no longer controlled by the person who spoke. It is controlled by the people interpreting. That's why modern communication feels risky. Not because people can't speak, because the moment they do, they lose ownership of what it becomes. Interpretation is more efficient than censorship. Censorship has to stop the sentence. Interpretation lets the sentence survive, while quietly replacing the person behind it. No words removed, no facts changed, just meaning reassigned. And once meaning is reassigned convincingly, the original speaker becomes irrelevant. This episode isn't advice. It isn't a guide on how to communicate better. And it isn't a warning about what you should or shouldn't say. It's simply an observation, a pattern that becomes visible when you watch how communication works today. People speak more than ever. More posts, more comments, more explanations. But something about communication changed. Not the language, the risk. Because speaking today doesn't just mean expressing an idea. It means releasing that idea into a system that immediately begins interpreting it. And once interpretation begins, the meaning no longer belongs to the person who spoke. If something in this feels familiar, that recognition is voluntary. Because once you begin noticing how interpretation works, you start seeing it everywhere. When you speak, the system doesn't listen for truth. It listens for a signal. Your words arrive as raw material, and the system sorts them the way a recycling plant sorts plastic from glass. Not looking for your soul, looking for your tag. Confidence, arrogance, victim, expert, offender. Every sentence becomes a classification attempt, because systems built on scale cannot process complexity. They process categories. Meaning used to travel with the speaker. Now it travels with the listener. And once meaning belongs to the listener, the speaker no longer controls the story. The interface of modern communication is narrow. It's a hallway that forces ideas to become smaller before they pass through. Every maybe, every sometimes, every complicated edge of meaning gets shaved off at the door. You arrive at the other end, smooth, simple, recognizable, and completely distorted. The system compresses meaning because complexity doesn't scale. Nuance travels slowly. Simplified identity travels instantly. Interpretation spreads faster than meaning. Meaning requires context. Interpretation requires only imagination. You said one thing, but another version of you may begin circulating before the conversation even ends. Because people rarely react to the sentence you said. They react to the person they believe you are. The interpreted version is always lighter than the real one. Stories move faster than truth. People notice this shift. A single idea rarely travels alone anymore. It arrives with explanations, clarifications, disclaimers. What I meant was, what I didn't mean was. People defend themselves before the sentence even lands, not from misunderstanding, from interpretation. Every sentence now travels with a small legal department attached, edited, softened, protected. The more people try to control interpretation, the less natural communication becomes. Every sentence becomes careful. Every opinion becomes filtered. Words move slower. People begin optimizing speech not for truth, but for safety. When safety becomes the priority, honesty becomes negotiable. People want to be understood. They explain more, clarify more, simplify more. But perfect understanding has its own cost. Once people believe they understand you, they stop updating you. You become predictable, defined. Misunderstanding is frustrating, but it keeps you unfinished. If you have to become simple to be understood, and you have to be understood to exist, what part of you actually survives the conversation? If this structure feels familiar, stay. There's more to examine. This channel studies the systems shaping human behavior, identity, meaning, freedom, communication. But in this universe, another division studies the human experience inside those systems. That is Punchline Protocol. Two perspectives, one system. The ideas are human. The narration is digital. The interpretation is yours.